Welcome to the SHOT Podcast. Today we have Danny Batista gracing us in the studio.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on, Danny. You're in San Antonio. Are you here for the weekend?
I've been here for the past week. So Texas for the past week for the photography projects that I have going on, and also the workshop that we had today here in San Antonio.
Okay. Let's talk about that. So we had the workshop today. This morning is Saturday morning in San Antonio. It was horrible. It's the worst experience I've ever had in my life.
That's not what y'all were saying earlier, man. What happened?
No, I'm kidding. Yeah, Danny's a horrible guy. He's incredibly difficult to get along with.
I'm out of here.
No, it was a great session. Danny is a wonderful mentor and instructor. I think it was, and it went from like 9 to after 1 p.m.
So, longer than I expected. But the questions come in when you start doing stuff like this. So
and you're so personable, and I think that that comes across with the people that you're teaching. I think that makes them feel comfortable and able to want to ask you questions. And so it was a great session.
Yeah, I loved it. I wasn't expecting it to be as hot outside as it was. We had talked earlier. I had talked to the guys there at the Luma House the day 2 days before, because I went by to check out the space for the first time and kind of see what it was going to be like, where I was going to be using the model, what it was going to be like outside at 11 a.m. here in San Antonio. Right. And we were talking, it was going to be hot, and it definitely was, but I enjoyed it. The important parts for me from these workshops are making sure that when people are there, they're getting these aha moments. Right. Those are big for me. So I'm looking for those. I'm like, and there's all kinds of ranges of skill level there.
Yeah.
You have people that have never touched off-camera flash before, people that do it as a hobby, people that do it full time, in all kinds of industries. So as a teacher who's teaching this stuff, I'm trying to make sure that all of them have some kind of aha moment that relates to whether they're a professional or whether they've, never picked up their camera in the past 3 months and they're just trying to get back into it. There's all kinds of reasons people have those cameras.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to be able to give them a lot of those moments where they're like, dang, I didn't realize I could do that. Or, oh my God, I didn't think about it like that. And over the past, 5 years of teaching, that's kind of come easier to me because I've seen all the personalities and seen all the reasons people are picking up their camera. So I was excited to be there today doing that.
Yeah, and I think some like you said, some of the people there had never touched off-camera flash, maybe had a speed light, really didn't know how to use it. There's one person there.
Yep.
And there's other people there that were very well versed in high-speed sync and everything else, and very experienced in that. But no matter what the level was, I think especially the person, it can be overwhelming and you can be kind of embarrassed. Some people, if you're a beginner and you've got all these other people that have been doing it for a while, but I don't think it felt like that at all. I think everyone was really comfortable, no matter what level they were at. So
I think there was some nervousness for some of the individuals. It's a thing to be in front of other photographers, other peers, learning. But a big thing for me, man, is trying to make it to where, look, I know we're all going to be learning here. Everybody's at a different level. If you have questions, stop me. I don't want this to be something where I'm hammering points home and not sure if you're getting the points that I'm giving you. So a lot of those little cues, I think, help people to feel a little bit better about the fact that this is a learning session. There's going to be things that even happen to me from a technical aspect where I'm like, damn, this isn't working as it's supposed to work, or whatever's happening.
Yeah.
Which is one of the points I actually brought up about problem solving. Yeah. My personal opinion about professional photography, it's a problem solving affair.
That's what you said from the beginning, yeah. It's all about problem solving.
If you can show up and you have some experience enough to start to problem solve quickly, and figuring solutions out, whether it's the sun, whether it's your off-camera situation, whether it's posing, whether it's something the subject is having a problem with that day.
Right.
Sometimes we're psychologists, man, we're therapists.
Yeah.
And so a lot of that stuff comes together to create a professional, in my opinion. And hopefully that came across today with what I was showing them, with off-camera flash, with motivated lighting, with everything that we went over. I think it was a win.
Yeah. I did too. And I've been doing this for a little while, like maybe five or 6 years or so that I've been doing this. And the reason I went is because you can, in my mind, you can always be improving. There's always something to learn, no matter how good you think you are or how good people think you are. There's always more to learn, and you can always improve. So, like you said, I had a couple of those aha moments myself in there too. So from the beginner to the more experienced folks, there's always something to learn from somebody that's more experienced than you. So I recommend that people come, take one of Danny's workshops. You said you don't do a lot of them, but you also do the one-on-one training, right?
The group workshops is not a big thing for me.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is because of some of those situations you just mentioned. getting a little nervous being in a group. I
Yeah.
prefer the private one-to-one stuff where I can more hold a person's hand through it. It's
Yeah.
just us looking at each other, learning together and teaching. So it gives them a better opportunity to not have to feel like anybody's watching them learn. So the private one-to-ones is something, I mean, I was doing before COVID. During COVID, I was flying to people, masked up, getting checked for COVID on a weekly basis. Doing tutorials in the rain in a car, like parked on the side of New York City streets because we can't go into cafes. Like that to me though, elevates people faster. Because it's a personalized approach, and
I agree.
Curriculum is just for you. We're deciding what's going to be best for you, from editing to shooting, all that. So
it's tailored to the person.
Exactly.
And their needs.
The group stuff is nice for motivational type of thing, showing you other people in the city, networking with each other, but also getting those aha moments. I just can't, with our short time frame, usually bring you over and do certain things just with you. And I wish it could be more like that, but that takes a lot of time, and a lot of people have places to go after a certain time on a Saturday morning.
Right. What made you want to get into teaching and mentoring?
I can't find a point in my history where I feel like it was this is what made me do it, or that I met somebody and I was like, oh man, I just changed that person's life. I want to do this for forever. I think it was more that I was already helping people for free. So a big thing with me is when somebody's asking me questions or somebody's reaching out, I'm always answering their question. I'm trying to give them as much time as I can in between everybody else that's asking me questions and all the other work that I'm doing with my clients, projects that I'm sending out, the business that I'm doing in photography. So I think it just came naturally. I was just used to it already. And it probably just came about because somebody asked me, Danny, I really want this and I need you here. How can you, is there a way we can make this work? And that happens a lot now. People will write me, even though I preach all the time, just write me and I'll come to you. I do this for everybody. Tell me you want me to come to you and I will come to you. I do it every week for everybody else. I think that's not a normal thing. I don't know anybody else that does that.
I don't either.
And so I think so I think a lot of people are just shocked that I'm being truthful. That's honestly something that I would take my time to do. Because they see me doing so much. So I just started realizing that I was good at helping people without taking a technical approach, no ego, and really just helping to find out what their situations are and lift them up through it, and find the solutions that make them better with whatever photography they're doing. That's a little bit related to maybe what I'm doing. So I don't know, it just was a natural kind of incline from the projects I was doing to what people were asking me and wanting help for.
And I think you're a natural at it, and just the way that you do explain things more and a down-to-earth level, layman's terms. We can talk about inverse square law and the square root of whatever to the distance of whatever.
I mentioned that today.
And it's we're not doing that. We're just not going to get into that. And I didn't learn that way. I've always been I go by my eye, by feel, and it's like a dimmer switch is when I try to explain it to people on the wall. You remember that they used to be circular, now they're sliders, and that's all a flash is doing. You're either raising that dimmer switch or you're lowering that dimmer switch, right? And use your eyes to see, what you think looks good, But obviously there's more to it than that. But that's just one of because people, I think they get intimidated with when you start talking flash power and all that. So you have a way of your delivery coming across and keeping it simple for people.
I think staying away from the non-technical approach is awesome. For some people it can be a problem because I kind of mentioned it a couple of times in the workshop today at the Luma House was, I know some of y'all might be thinking that because I changed my shutter speed, why didn't I change the power of this? Because it's gonna, and some of those little changes don't matter to me so much because I know in my workflow and process where I can recoup some of the things that were slightly different or changed based on exposure or just whatever's going on. My focus is the subject in front of me, how they're responding to what I'm doing, capturing amazing motion or candid moments or just getting the shot, because sometimes that's a thing, just getting the shot and making that flow real smooth. Because I'll tell you this, a lot of models come to me and go, I just shot with this person and he was struggling with the light so much and the vibe was just going downhill and they couldn't get their settings right. And in my mind, I'm thinking to myself, if those two things went wrong, I would have figured out the solution to not even use them and keep going, right? Because I'm being considerate of this person and trying to make sure they're excited to continue to do what they're doing right here. It's a job for them too. It's tougher for them in my opinion. So there's a lot of situations like that come up, and it goes back to the professional kind of thing. If I can problem solve a solution fast, I'm making it happen, keeping the flow there, making sure both people, the camera, me, and the person in front of me are doing amazing, and we're moving, we're flowing.
Yeah.
It's a big thing, man. A lot of models love to have a positive flow to the shoot.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they start taking a dive, and they don't even want to be there anymore. Then you see it in the face and everything.
I get that way too. I'm very picky about my lighting, and you know, to the point where I'm just like right there, and I'm like, okay, that's much better. And it probably didn't make any difference, but I'm looking at something, but I can see it in their eyes that they're getting frustrated that I'm making these micro adjustments. And at some point, I'll say in my mind, I just got to get going and get a flow. It's not if it's not perfect right now, it's good enough, because it's going to be worse if, like you said, the model takes a dive and we can't get into a flow. And,
I think it's a timing thing too. You know what I mean? Like a lot of times we're struggling with a schedule and a timing.
Yeah.
You might be at a pier space that you only have an hour at.
Yeah.
Right? The model might have gotten there a little bit late, and so now you're struggling
that never
with
happens.
time.
Right.
All these things compile up and pile up. And so and honestly, man, the most of the time it's on us to just make sure we can get past some of those little hiccups and make it happen.
Yeah.
And so I think I just might tell myself sooner, let's just go. Where you might take a little bit longer and go, but I need that little bit of 0.3 edge of power.
Right.
I just let it go a little sooner.
Yeah, yeah. What did you ever have? You know, you mentioned an aha moment earlier. What was an aha moment for you when you were, you know, as part of your career? I'll give you an example. For me, you know, I had my 1.8 lens when I was starting out, and I thought I'd get those bokeh shots, and I just thought that was awesome. I'm like, I am the man. I got these bokeh shots, and then the first time I got into a small room where there was no distance between the model and anything else, and I couldn't bokeh the shot, that was an aha moment that I'm like, oh, I have to make a composition now here with the lighting that I have, the space that I'm in, and I can't bokeh the shot. I have to come up with something good without relying on that one element. That was one of my aha moments. There have been many over the years. Did you have anything like that, similar?
That's a good question. I think I kind of was starting to highlight that today at our workshop, actually. I didn't get to the point, I don't think, was that for anybody, and I think this is everybody, that doesn't feel as confident about their work and goes or thinks to themselves, man, I wish my stuff looked like that, right? The grass is greener on the other side kind of thing. I wish my work looked like that. Why doesn't my work look like that? Or I'm not really a professional, I don't think. Why are they coming to me and asking me for work? Like, a lot of these people have these questions in the back of their head, especially when they want their work to look beautiful, and they're seeing so much of this now on social media that they want to mimic. And my aha moment came from, I keep saying this was a Nikon Masters of Light thing, and I think it was. This was a decade ago. There was a Master of Light. They highlighted like several prominent photographers in the world. And one of them was, I believe, an older lady who shoots a lot of like ranches with like horses, and maybe there's individuals in these shots as well. And they're asking her about being a Master of Light. I mean, they chose her because she's a badass, like she's amazing. Right. And one of the things that she said was similar to this, where she was like, look, you can call me a Master of Light, but every single time I'm using my camera, I'm learning something. Like every time I press my shutter, something is different about light that I'm having to register and track and keep track of and use as inspo or use as motivation or use to understand what I'm going to get my next shot to look like. And she said, I don't ever want to lose that idea of me learning and always finding something new in front of my lens, because if I do that, I'm going to lose the ability to be interested in this sport, in this activity, in this art. And so that resonated with me a lot, because I noticed that I'm doing the same thing. I'm thinking to myself, man, how can I shift my eye a little bit? How can I do something a little bit different that makes me feel excited about my work?
Yes.
And I used to think of it as a bad thing. Like, why can't I reach the point that I want to reach? But now I know that I'm never going to reach that point.
Yeah.
I'm always going to be shifting, pivoting, finding something new, looking at what's different, using light in a different way.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. But I think a lot of people get caught up in that being a bad thing.
Right.
So that was one of my aha moments, man, that led me to go, this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm supposed to always be reaching for the next point.
Yeah. Teaching and mentoring, you said you've been teaching for about 5 years now. What do you think is the hardest, the most difficult thing for people to grasp? through your
like in the
experience,
people that
which
I've
is
come over or like worked with?
that you've been teaching, is there something that you find in common that you see a lot that people just, they're difficult for people in general to pick up on?
Yeah, I would say there's two things. One is confidence in themselves.
Mm-hmm.
It's not even necessarily related to the camera equipment, the stuff they're using, the camera they're using.
I heard a guy today ask if you had imposter syndrome. Right? If you ever had that.
It's a big thing, a big keyword that a lot of people say, and I think it comes down to confidence.
Mm-hmm.
So I have people that ask me a lot from the business related side of stuff, like how can I actually get clients? How can I do this? And I find out that the reason they can't really is because they have no confidence in the value of their work.
Mm-hmm.
They're not really sure if somebody would pay them for their art and for what they shoot,
right?
And they get stuck in that.
Mm-hmm.
So confidence is a big thing. I think the other thing is some technical aspects of using things like off-camera flash. Everybody that I think I've taught in the last 5 years has had a curiosity or a need to want to learn how that can improve their photography.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of misconceptions about what flash photography has to look like. Everything we talked about today in this workshop was how to make it look natural.
Yeah.
That's my goal. Whether it's automotive, food, portrait, product, doesn't matter to me. I'm trying to find ways to make that look as natural as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about motivated lighting. That was the key word for today, which is, comes from film. And, when you're watching these films, are you ever considering it and going, that light isn't coming through that window?
Yeah.
That person wouldn't look like that in this space. No,
Right.
we're enveloped in this story, and none of that takes us away from that. So I try to create that in our shots in photography and still photos and video. And I think a lot of people are scared of that and they're not really sure how that can work. So that's a big one, and a lot of people find that they can't just learn that from watching a YouTube video. They need the hands-on and they need somebody to show them and make it easier for them to understand and see it on their own camera. Those are the aha moments they have, man.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, when I go to them and they take the photo with the setups that I'm giving them,
Yeah.
and they go, there's no way. How did my camera, me? I
Yeah.
did what? And then it's an exciting scenario. Then the nervousness leaves and they're like,
That's what gets you hooked as an instructor as well. I think I've done a little bit of instruction as well, just for beginners, off-camera flash and things like that. And when they do that, like, it's just, you see it in their eyes and their eyes light up, and it's really cool to see someone that, that you were able to facilitate that.
Those are some of the most amazing moments. And again, those aha moments I was telling you about earlier, I try to have that in every single session. I don't think I failed yet, man, but those are the moments. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I had, just some of the lighting that Danny was showing us, and the methods that he used, and just with what we're talking about, the motivated lighting. And there are things that I had forgotten about. I'm in the studio a lot.
Yeah.
It's a sterile environment. It's a lot of the same thing over and over. And you also talked about, wanting to keep things fresh and do things different. But, I don't get outside as much, and there's things that I forgot. Really, to be honest, that because I've been inside doing a lot of studio work, and just some of the fundamentals, but also the method of just wanting to, notice what direction the light is coming from, and do you really want to fight with that, or do you want to more align with it, right?
Right.
And go with it, and have your artificial light blend with that natural light that's coming in, right? And then shoot from the opposite side of that. It was just like, yes, okay.
That's my goal always for all these things, and I'm glad I could show that, because a lot of people shoot the opposite or are taught the opposite.
Yes. And we're taught the opposite, to do the opposite. We're on YouTube University, right?
And I can't even tell you like where I picked up on this. I think it was just more about me experimenting and figuring that out, and maybe seeing other people's work too, and kind of trying to create that. But I learned flash before I learned natural light, which is complete opposite of what most people learn. Most people pick up a camera and go, okay, let me learn these 3 things to get an exposure.
Yeah.
I'm picking up a camera and going, okay, how can I incorporate this flash into the shot, because I want a better photo of the front of this vehicle that I'm shooting, or whatever it is. Real estate and automotive were my first 2 loves, and they required me to do a lot of compositing and a lot of flash work. So I learned there, and then eventually started doing natural light years later, and I was like, I don't want to do this. I want my flash. I need my flash. I had to peel myself away from off-camera flash, which is so different from so many people. So I'm glad it went that route, because it gave me what I'm doing now.
Yeah, that is an opposite way of going about it. Like, I learned natural light first, but I went to flash very quickly, just from looking at, because that's what everyone was doing on YouTube, and I was intrigued by it, on what they were doing with that and everything. But I like to sometimes go shoot natural light, and I'm like you, the flash is in the car. I'm not leaving it at home, right? I'm going to have a reflector with me at the very minimum, right? But I like shooting natural light because I find it challenging.
Exactly.
Because you have to find it. You have to find where is it bouncing off of, where am I going to place the model in relation to where that light is coming in, because I can't just create it myself. But even with flash, as you displayed today, you still need to be attentive to where that natural light is coming in from and use it as your second light, right?
Absolutely.
So,
that's a big one. And you know, I'm just like you. When I put that flash away, sometimes I don't even bring it on trips because I'm telling myself I'm going to force myself to find the light this time. Or I don't want to just have them tax me at the airport for whatever I'm bringing in.
Right.
So like things like that have motivated me to go, I'm just going to find the light today. We're going to make this happen with the most minimal amount of gear. Let me see if I can do it.
Yeah.
And that's helped me grow.
Yeah. So I want to switch gears a little bit because I said an important topic that I really wanted to get to was, and you mentioned it today, that, you know, I'm going to paraphrase, I can't remember exactly how you said it, but you said you didn't want to be, you know, the broke creative, right? And I think a lot of creatives, whether you're a photographer or an artist of some type, struggle with, you know, they've figured out the artistic side. That's easy for them. What is it, the right side of the brain, that artistic
tell you,
part
but I
of
know
the
what you're
brain?
talking about, yeah.
That comes natural. But I can be a great photographer, but I don't know how to be a business person, right? And so I feel like there's an entire another side of this. Once you learn, you know, the skills, and we're never going to become masters of light, right? We're going to try, but we're not. What happens next? How do you? Because I told somebody one time, you can be the greatest photographer on Instagram. Everyone thinks you're fantastic, and you'd be surprised how many people don't call you for work. No one's going to call you. Very few. Some people you might get lucky, right, in social media. So where do people get started? And I know some of the answer to this, but I want to hear your take on that. I'm a photographer or an artist or whatever, and I'm in San Antonio or whatever city I'm in. How do I make money doing this?
So I kind of mentioned it earlier. First of all, you have to have some confidence in yourself. You have to be okay with letting people pay you. I know people that are not okay with letting anybody pay them because that brings in a whole other aspect to the shoot that now changes the game for them, and they can no longer feel creative because they're working for money. So you have to be okay with accepting money for what you're doing. That's a big thing that I've seen with a lot of people. So the confidence and accepting the money. The second thing is, don't get trapped in some of this volume kind of work, which may be something you do in the beginning, but you need to find the point when you elevate yourselves to other clients within maybe that industry. So I'll give you an example. Real estate is a good example. With real estate, you have different levels of projects that you could be doing. At the bottom of this is dilapidated fixer-uppers. Okay, you're going to go in there for $25 a pop. They're going to want you to do things that you should never be doing for $25 for the time frame that you're doing. But you've never shot anything. So your goal is to start picking up some of this work to show that you have the skill. And usually that's for free in the beginning. Then you start getting paid a little bit, but you're not necessarily doing the high-end stuff. And real estate can take that trajectory. Then you have the normal houses that maybe are cockroach infested, but have some good foundation. Now you're moving on up into these bigger homes that are still not massive luxury type of stuff, but you can get paid a little bit more for that. Then there's the staged homes. Realtors need better photos for these. Marketing agencies need better photos for these. They're looking for photographers that have some other skill level, that probably have some Photoshop experience, that probably have some lighting experience to make these things look as amazing as they can. Then you move on up. We have interior designers, luxury penthouses. Like, those are the areas that I focus on. But I started at the bottom too, and I noticed really quickly that I did not want to be in an unair-conditioned house shooting all day. So I started networking, talking within that community, finding the other places where these other houses exist, where these apartment complexes exist, where I can get those contacts. And that happened from networking, shooting at the lower level, and picking myself up as we went along the way.
It's a gradual process.
It's a gradual process. At some point, I had all the work I could possibly need to pitch any person that I wanted to. And at that point, I started actually going and finding that work versus people finding me or networking through word of mouth.
People that actually have a budget.
People that actually have a budget from the beginning, right? People that are like, look, we got volume, we need houses done, how many can you do? These are the only levels, the higher levels that we do. And that's just real estate, right? So you can do the same thing. For example, I'll give you another example that I always like to give. Food. Okay, restaurants need consistent work for this. Marketing agencies need consistent work for this.
Yeah.
And an easy way that I was doing this was, again, the free work.
Yeah.
I would literally go into a luxury restaurant, say, hey, I would love to give you guys some free shots of what you guys do. And the luxury restaurant is always going to plate it nicely. They're going to be on beautiful plates. The linens are going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Right? It's not going to be a hole in the wall.
Yeah.
So your work, even if you suck, is going to automatically leaps and bounds.
Right.
Nobody's going to know you shot it for free. And you can take that work and pitch it to the next person as, hey, I went and shot for such and such. They're going to know the name.
Yeah.
It's a luxury restaurant in that city. And so now I have work. I did it for free. It looks decently good, hopefully. I take that to the next spot and continue to build my company.
Yeah.
But a lot of it for me came from pitching other places, getting the initial work for free, and then pushing that out to as many individuals as I could. And being very communicative and helpful and wanting to provide value to my clients and saying that that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I made money because of it, right? That
Yeah,
a part of this
yeah.
is the business side,
Right.
but I am interested in making sure these clients are getting what they want.
Yeah. I think a lot of creatives have a tough time with that communication, though.
A lot of them are introverts. It's tough for a lot of people.
Yeah. So it's tough, but you got to break out of that shell and be able to just, fill up your social tank for a little bit, right? And get out there and you got to talk to people, network, right?
You do have to turn it on for a little bit.
Yeah.
Right? Even I, who can handle majority situations, speaking in large groups, I have to turn it on.
Yeah.
And then I go back into my work zone.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. Like even today, going to the thing is like, all right, I'll fill up my social tank. All right, talk to all these people and everything, and then I'm going to go take a break for a while. And I'm going to come back and talk to Danny this afternoon.
It's a normal thing. I'm finding it's very normal for the majority of us.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, very good. So, got a few minutes left.
Yeah.
I'm going to take a question from the peanut gallery back here. That's my wife back here, who's making sure all of this is running. So, what's your question?
My question, and I ask everybody that comes on the podcast, is if you had any superpower in the world, what would it be and why?
So she asked, if you had any superpower in the world, what would it be and why?
I was going to say invisibility, and then I didn't have an answer for it. So I think what I would do is like teleportation.
Ooh.
For me, being able to go wherever I needed to go at the click of a finger.
You almost have that, right?
Almost.
With Southwest.
It still takes a while for me to get there, but that's why I think about it, is because I would love to be able to get to these places and be at more places than I can normally be now at once.
Right.
Part of what I do now is I have to try to be more than one person, so I do a lot of digital tutorials, a lot of custom videos so people can get this stuff without me being there. And so I feel like I just want to help so much that I wish I could just jump back and forth to wherever I needed to be to try to help as many people as possible to make them better at what they do. I feel like that's the way I would take that. Like that would help me out tremendously and still allow me to do both things that I do right now, helping people out and being there in person.
Yeah, fantastic answer. So I'm going to link below to your website, right, where people can book you to for private lessons. You've got the memberships on your website, the silver, the gold, that have different perks. So what's, before we go, what final piece of advice, if you could give one piece of advice to photographers out there, what would it be?
I mean, I just want to harp on the same point I was already kind of saying, which is the confidence thing. Have confidence in yourself. If you don't ever want to get paid for your work, great. That's not a problem.
Right.
But just have confidence in your ability. Stop looking to social media so much for the likes and look to social media for the inspiration and the motivation.
Yeah.
Right? Always try to be better. That's never going to go away.
Right.
Don't look at it as a bad thing. Look at it as a good thing that you have this constant influx of motivation and inspo.
Yeah.
Pick and pull from what you think is good for you and what you would like to try to achieve. Mimic that work. We're not copying here, we're mimicking and we're taking that inspo and we're creating our own vision for it. Don't use these likes, and now we all know the lack of reach on Instagram and everywhere else, as a downfall. Use it to show off what you can do, be engaging with everybody else, pull in that inspiration, and create as much as you can. You will find what you love to do. You'll enjoy the process more. And hopefully, if this being a business is what you want, you'll continue to make money or start to make money using those resources and that inspiration to provide value to everybody that you come across.
Very good. Best answer I've had yet, I think.
I was flowing on that
one.
For
sure. I lied. One more question. What's next for you? Because I noticed you've been getting into some cinematography and things like that. And you talked about how just learning new things keeps your brain engaged and it keeps it fresh. Is that what's next for you?
Video is
more
next.
Into video?
More into video, more cinematography. I don't think I'm ever going to make a movie or anything like that.
Yeah.
I don't see myself building out a set for months and months and doing all this, but I do like creating these little vignettes and these little moments that were once just photos for me and are now video and dialogue. So I'm into microphones a lot now. I'm doing a lot of video, a lot of continuous lighting, a lot of cinematic lighting. I'm working with a lot of actors for their reels, for their agencies, to kind of create these one-man, better productions than they have against, just a white wall or a blue screen. And really creating moments for them that allow them to get hired and do the things they want to do. So again, I'm still helping, right? I'm still trying to figure out these ways to make them better and to give them what they need to get jobs and get paid. So that's a big thing I'm doing now. Maybe music videos might be the furthest I go down the path of like a 3-minute type of thing, but really enjoying the video aspect of stuff, and I'm incorporating everything that I've already been doing with photo into that. So it's in a whole new exciting world, and it's expensive.
I feel like it's vice versa too. I feel like some of the cinematography lighting is transitioning over into the photography as well, right?
I would agree. I think they both kind of intermix, and people, I think a lot of videographers are kind of delving in photography. A lot of photographers now are finding out they have to get into videography because their clients are asking for it. That's a big reason I'm even doing it. My clients originally asked for it, and now I'm starting to get involved with it and doing my own creative processes and seeing where I can help others with it.
That's where Instagram has been. You can say what you want about it, but we all had to, not all of us, but if you're following the trends, it's kind of like, well, you need to start posting reels now. And I told somebody one time, how can I be a fairly decent photographer but be so bad at video? And a lot of us had to learn video just to continue to be relevant on social media, right? But it's turned out to be a good thing because then we can offer that as a service into what we're doing.
Again, if you're confident enough and you feel like this is something that you're getting asked for or you want to be asked for, you have to get into it, and it's a thing now. I mean, whether you like it or not, you can continue to stay in photography, but I mean, my clients are literally asking for video because they need it for their business, and I'm all about providing that value, so I'm doing it.
And that's a moneymaker. Right, so it's kind of a no-brainer.
It's more income than photography, I'll tell you that.
And just learning something new for me, like you said, it just keeps it fresh. So
I'm excited about what's to come. All
right, Danny, thank you for coming by. I appreciate it. I appreciate the class that we had today. It was incredible. I encourage anyone. Again, I'll link the website below to check Danny's website out. He does offer the tutoring and the classes, and you can also subscribe to his website. So I appreciate it.
Thank you so
much for coming by.
I appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.